Alright guys, so this is coming to a boil, which is very nice, which is kind of what I wanted, and I'm using a knife to sort of soak in the coconut husks. This is kind of what I wanted. We're gonna let this keep cooking or keep boiling for a little bit longer, and then once it's done, I'm going to rinse it off and cool it off, because you don't want to use this when it's hot, because you're gonna cook off your plant. That's common sense, but it needs to be said because people have done this mistake. Not me, but I'm pretty sure people have. But anyway, so I'll be back once this is cool off and chill and ready to use. Alright guys, so welcome back to my channel, Custis Plants. And so a lot of you guys have been asking for me to repot a Hoya, or how I grow my Hoyas, and I grow them in coconut husks, the majority of them. This is a perfect example of a Hoya that needs to be repotted. It comes in a very little, I think like a 2-inch pot. This is Hoya Russell, by the way. Look at the leaves. This leaf that's glossy and shiny, as you guys can see right here, it's a new leaf and it's growing, but it doesn't have more room. And I know that Hoyas do like to be root bound and do prefer to be in smaller size pots in order for them to grow nice and massive. You want to keep them in a smaller pot. However, a lot of them, well, not all of them are like this. Some of them, like Hoya Bella, some of them prefer larger size beds like carnosas, because once they get mature they need more space. This is not that big, but I would much rather have it in a larger size pot because it's very little for it. So you guys can see it's like this is insane. So I am gonna repot this. I'm not sure if I'm gonna put it up in a 4-inch or a 6-inch, but I'll take you guys along with me using coconut husks and everything. So let's go ahead and do that. So just keep on watching. Alright guys, now the wind chimes are in the back doing their thing, which I love having wind chimes. My dogs are making a noise like always, but I wanted to come in and show you guys the coconut husks that I use. This is from Petco. I got this from Petco, I think for $4 or $2 and change. It's very cheap. This is the one that you use for reptiles. So the thing with this type of coconut husks is that it's made for to be dry for reptiles like turtles, snakes, lizards. You kind of want to buy that because it's cheap, but the thing with this one is that you need to make sure to rinse it off, wash it off, because it's bleached, and so you need to go and prepare it before you use it. You cannot just take it out of the bag and put it in your Hoyas and expect your Hoyas to be doing amazing. You kind of want to, you know, steam this up, boil it, cook it, get as much diet as possible, which will never happen, but try to do that as much as possible, and then you can start using. And also my Hoya, I'm gonna be putting in this size pot, so you guys can see it's a 2-inch pot compared to a 6-inch pot that I'm gonna be transferring my Hoya to. Now the good thing about using coconut husks for your plants is that coconut husks, it's very hard for a Hoya to root rot in coconut husks, because coconut husks are so airy and so fibrous. The roots will likely never rot in coconut husks. So don't be scared of sizing up your small little plant into a large pot with coconut husks, because chances are that your pot or your soil, or in this case coconut husks, will not be the case for your plant rotting in just over water, or sometimes plants die because you upsize them too big, and so they end up dying. But when using coconut husks, you kind of avoid that problem. So this is why I like using coconut husks. I've killed multiple plants because I upsized them too soon, and so they couldn't really fill up the pot, and so they died. So coconut husks, it being so fat, so airy, so chunky and barky and fibrous, allows for the roots to be always in air, and you kind of avoid soggy situations. So yeah. Alright, so I kind of want to show you guys how my Hoya Russell looks right now. I've showed you guys earlier, but I just want to show you guys. Is my Hoya little Russell. It doesn't have much tendrils or anything. It does grow leaf, but I want this to grow tendrils because it's summer here, and this is where my Hoyas start taking off. So we're gonna be, like I said, transplanting this to coconut husks. And yeah, so let's go ahead and I'm gonna take you guys to my kitchen, to my dining room, and where I'll show you guys how I prep my coconut husks for usage. So let's go. Alright guys, so this is the coconut husks in a pot. As you can see, we're gonna get this boiling with water in the stove, and I'll be back once that's done. And so we're gonna get this going. Alright, now we're just gonna bring this to a boil. and once it's done, it'll be ready to work. As you can see, it does have insects, which is why it's really important for you guys to boil your coconut husks, because you don't know what might be in it. It does host lots of insects in the packet, so it's always great to wash this nicely. And yeah. Alright guys, so this is coming to a boil, which is very nice, which is kind of what I wanted. And I'm using a knife to sort of soak in the coconut husks. This is kind of what I wanted. We're gonna let this keep cooking or keep boiling for a little bit longer, and then once it's done, I'm going to rinse it off and cool it off, because you don't want to use this when it's hot, because you're gonna cook up your plant. That's common sense, but it needs to be said because people have done this mistake. Not me, but I'm pretty sure people have. But anyway, so I'll be back once this is cool off and chill and ready to use. Alright guys, and so here is my coconut husks. I put them in the sink for the moment so they could cool off, and I'm rinsing it off and washing it. So here's how it looks. This is ready to be used already. It's nice and washed, which is how I like it. So now let's just go ahead and get to the next step, which is put it in the nursery pot. And we're gonna plop in our Hoya. Alright guys, so here we have our little Hoya Russell in this little pot next to my molcajete. And then here is the nursery pot that I'm gonna transplant it to. So let's go ahead and get ready. I'm just gonna be taking out coconut husks from the sink. As you can see, just taking it out and just building up my pot with the coconut husks. I know you may not be able to see it on the camera because it's a little too dark, but I promise you this will definitely work for my plant. Alright guys, and so now that we have our coconut husks, I don't want to go all the way up because the Hoya still has some space. So we're gonna go ahead and just slightly remove our Hoya from the pot. We can take a look at the roots. It has a very nice root system. See, it's a very nice root system, which I like a lot. Now we're not gonna disturb this. We can see it was very dry. And we're just gonna plop it in just like so, just like that. Very nice. And we're just gonna finish it up with more coconut husks on the side. This is where a lot of people make a mistake of disturbing the roots. A lot of people I see, they tend to wiggle with the soil and play with the soil just to check the roots. I don't do that actually. I mess the least amount of time possible on the roots, because if the Hoya is growing new leaves and everything, why do I need to mess the roots with? You know, I don't need to mess the roots with anything. So yeah. Okay guys, so I'm just gonna be finishing it up. And it's a very simple step, but a lot of you guys were asking me how is it that I repot my Hoyas in coconut husk, and this is exactly how I do it. So it's not 100% in coconut husk because you guys can see the roots of the Hoya were still with soil, but that's no problem for me. Alright guys, and so this is how the Hoya ended up looking at the end. You guys can see it's a nice Hoya Russell, and the pot looks very nice and plump. Now I'm not finished with it. We're gonna go to my yard and I'll show you guys what I'm gonna do next. Alright guys, now this right here, this is coconut COIR. This I like to use on my plants, and I'll show you guys how I like to do it. I like to sprinkle this on top of my plants. Just like so. Because this retains moisture. Coconut husks are very fibrous, and so they need a little bit of help to keep moisture in place for a little bit longer. So coconut COIR, coconut bark, chunky grinded coconut, helps the coconut husks to retain moisture, and as a result your plant will be more hydrated for a longer period of time. But I'm not finished. I'm also gonna add some fertilizer. Alright guys, so you can see my Hoya now nice and potted, but I'm not finished. Alright guys, so the next step is I'm going to be using the flower and vegetable Osmo coat. This is little pebbles And these little pebbles go on top of your plant after you finish repotting or just fixing the soil. You can put some of these. These are good for 6 months. So it's a slow release fertilizer. You put it in and you don't have to worry about fertilizing your plants after 6 months. At least for me, that's how I do it. And this is for Hoyas. Other plants may need more fertilizer sooner, but for Hoyas, you don't need to fertilize it up to 6 months after using this. Alright, so there it is. And we're just gonna plop in our little fertilizer to go over our plant. Just really shaking it up. How much do you put in your plants? I just eyeball it, and that's about it, guys. You can see the little fertilizer pebbles right there on the plant, and that's pretty much all I do to it. So we're gonna put this Hoya right there. There we go. It's gonna be living right here on the bottom, and it'll get lots of humidity. Just to finally finish it up, I will be using this, which is like a Miracle-Gro orchid plant food mist. I'll spray it down really good. Hang it over here, and we're gonna call this a day. We're gonna close it up. Okay, and we're just gonna take this and let it be. So a lot of people ask me about fertilizing your Hoyas, and Hoyas don't really need to be fertilized for a long period of time because they're epiphytes. They don't really grow on soil. They grow on tree bark or just on trees in general. So they don't really require much fertilization. Using Osmocote really helps your plants to grow a little bit faster than normal. And I like using Osmocote because I'm very lazy with my plants, and I like to just fertilize them once and don't have to worry about it for a long time. This for me works really good because I only fertilize them, like you guys saw earlier, once, and then after 6 months, maybe sometimes even 4, depending on the Hoya, I go in again and put more fertilizer. So pretty much depending on the Hoya, you can either do 6 months or 4 months, and it's very simple. You don't have to worry about it that much. So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video repotting my Hoya in coconut husks. A lot of you guys were asking how is it that I repot Hoyas, and some of you guys were asking questions about coconut husks. So I hope that this video was very helpful. You guys saw the process of washing the coconut husks, spoiling it, making sure that it doesn't have a lot of insects in there. Fertilizing your Hoya in a larger size coconut husk doesn't really do much trouble. So I hope that this video was very helpful for you, and hope you guys enjoyed it. Kapong garigato, don't forget to drink water your plants, and fertilize them as well.